SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
නිවසේ මෙවැනි මතුපිට රැඳෙන විස බීජ 99.9%ක්ම විනාශ කරන විම් ක්ලීනර්ස්.
In your headlines tonight, to be continued. Hopes for an end to the education deadlock are dashed by the rejection of the latest government compromise by teachers and principals. Starting early, the GMOA calls for a revamp of the education system to allow 22-year-olds to get an MBBS qualification.
The graduation time of a MBBS graduate has extended up to age of 27, 28, and ultimately by the time they do their postgraduate examinations, they will be nearly 40 and they have only 20 years service to this country.
Bond scam. The AG's department informs the Special High Court that Singapore has commenced extradition of Arjun Mahendran. Unbreakable bonds. Indian Army commander meets with the country's leadership and talks of strong ties.
Even during the COVID-19 outbreak, we ensured that we were in touch with each other and shared best practices in COVID management.
All this and much more coming up on this Wednesday, the 13th of October 2021.
ඉසේ සම පෝෂණය කර ඉසුරු ඉවත් කරමින් නැවත ඇතිවීම වළකයි. Nava Clear Shampoo.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando in your top stories for tonight. The Government Medical Officers Association says that Sri Lanka needs to revisit its examination system in order to match global standards and allow medical students to get an MBBS qualification at a much earlier age than at present. GMOA President Dr. Anuruddha Padeniya says that currently medical students are at least 5 years late in MBBS graduations, and with a more efficient exam results system, we could see 22-year-old doctors passing out, as is the case globally.
The Government Medical Officers Association is calling for a major overhaul of the country's education system to enable young students to enter university and graduate with an MBBS qualification much earlier than at present. Speaking on the issue, GMOA President Dr. Anuruddha Padeniya pointed out that unlike 3 decades back, current medical students are about 5 years late in graduating with an MBBS qualification. He says that this delay stems from inefficiencies in the examination results and higher education system and causes the country to lose out on years of service of medical professionals.
3 decades back, the situation was MBBS graduates were produced at the age of 22 and they could do their postgraduate exams, and by 27, 28 years, they were consultants and they could work in the hospital sector for 32 or 33 years as a consultant. However, during the past few years, what happened was, for due to various reasons, the graduation time of a MBBS graduate has extended up to age of 27, 28, and ultimately by the time they do their postgraduate examinations, they will be nearly 40 and they have only 20 years service to this country. This is very, very unfortunate.
In order to resolve this issue, Dr. Padeniya says that the education system needs to revamp itself and embrace technology, which may allow kids to sit their ordinary level and advanced level examinations earlier and get into university by the age of 18.
Now, if a child can enter into a school at age of 5 years, as it is happening in our private sector and as it is happening in all these regional countries and international arena, what we can see is after 10 years, when they are 15 years, in month of August, they can have their O-level exams. Now, if you are going to have the exams in month of August, I think we have to use the technology and we have to upgrade the situation to make it efficient to issue the results within 1 month period. So if they issue the results in 1 month period, by age of 16 January, the student can start their advanced level training, and by end of 17 in December, they can sit for the A-level exams, and if they release the results in 1 month period, and if UGC is going to accommodate them into universities in 1 month period, by March at the age of 18 they will be able to accommodate in a medical faculty and MBBS graduation by 22 years and a BSc or BA graduation by age of 20 years. Then they have ample opportunities for them to compete with the region and with the international arena to do their postgraduate exams and to qualify by the ages of 27, 28 and to become a consultant and to serve this country for long years.
The teacher principal trade unions have rejected the government's two-stage proposal to deal with their salary anomalies and now plan to continue with their strike that may scuttle plans to reopen schools. The trade unions came to this decision today after hours of deliberations with the Prime Minister yesterday, where they continue to demand an immediate once and for all salary hike. With the teacher and principal strike having entered its third month, there was a lot of hope for the outcome of yesterday's meeting between Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and trade union representatives. At the near 3-hour-long meeting, the government's offer to resolve their salary anomalies in the next two budgets seemed to have been well received. The offer entailed the increase of their salaries in 3 installments, with the first tranche included in the 2022 budget, effective from January, while the second and third tranches were to be included in the 2023 budget, also from January that year. However, after the meeting, union representatives told the media that their response to the offer would have to wait until after a meeting of the Coalition of Unions this morning. With that, parents and students across the country waited in anticipation to find out whether the government's school reopening plan will go ahead this month. However, the unions had other plans. Announcing the outcome of the union meeting this morning, Sri Lanka Teachers Union General Secretary Joseph Stalin announced that the latest government offer was just not good enough. Why? Because they insist that only an immediate one-time increment can get them back to work.
ඇමති අනු කමිටුවේ කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාව පැහැදිලිවම සඳහන් වෙලා තියෙනවා ලබා දෙන වැටුප් පියවර සුබෝධිනී කමිටු වාර්තාවේ කොටසක් ඇට දෙන්න කියලා. අපි පැහැදිලිව ඉල්ලීමක් කරා මේක එක කොටසක් ඇට දාන්න. නමුත් මේක තුනට බෙදලා තුනෙන් එකක් තමයි 2021 ජනවාරි වල දෙන්නේ. ඉතුරු දෙක සහ තුන දෙන්නේ ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ. ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසි චක්‍රලේඛයක්වත් කිසිම දෙයක් නිකුත් වෙලත් නැහැ. එක පැත්තකින් අනිත් එක අපි පැහැදිලිවම කියන්නේ එක දෙයයි අපිට මේක එකවර ගෙවන්න. අපි දැන්ට ගන්න වෘත්තීය ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය අඛණ්ඩව අපි පෙරට ගෙනිනවා. ඒ වගේම ආණ්ඩුවට අපි කියනවා ඉදිරි සතියේදී මේ තීරණය සම්බන්ධ තීරණයක් ගන්න පැය 3මාරක්. ඊයේ සාකච්ඡා කරලත් අපි දැක්ක මේ සම්බන්ධ තීරණයක් ගන්න ඉඩ දුන්නේ නැත්තේ විශේෂයෙන් මහා භාණ්ඩාගාර ලේකම්වරයාත් අයවැය අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල්වත් ඔවුන් විටින් විට කතා කරලා මේක ප්‍රමාද කරා. ඉතින් මේක පිටිපස්සේ කවුද ඉන්නේ කියලා ප්‍රශ්න අපිට තියෙන්නේ.
තව ගත කළ යුත්තේ දින 100ද 150ද අපි ලෑස්තියේ දින ගණන ගත කරන්න ආණ්ඩුව නිශ්චිත ලෙස අපිට අපේ ඉල්ලීමට අදාළ තීන්දුව ලබා දිය යුතුයි. මේ අරගලය අකණ්ඩවම ඉදිරියට යනවා.
However, it appears that not all unions are of the same view, with the teacher principal collective in the Ratnapura district having already agreed to the government's proposal and expressed readiness to resume teaching from the 21st of this month. Vaccinations for children sitting for the GCE Advanced Level Examination this year in Colombo will begin on the 15th of October. In the meantime, Dr. Hemantha Herath of the Ministry of Health says that he expects the school reopening plans to go ahead smoothly and called on parents to inculcate proper health and safety habits in their children to be practiced during school hours. Last Friday, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed the health and education officials to commence vaccinations of children aged between 18 and 19 years from the 21st of October onwards. This decision comes in a backdrop where the Advisory Committee on Communicable Diseases at the Ministry of Health had announced their readiness to inoculate children aged between 15 and 19. Following this development, the Ministry of Education announced today that students sitting for the GCE Advanced Level Examination in the Colombo district will be vaccinated first.
15 වෙනිදා පටන් ගන්නවා එන සිකුරාදා කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ සියලුම කලාපවල දරුවෝ අරන් එන්න ඕන තමන්ගේ හැඳුනුම් පත. එතකොට ඔබගේ විදුහල්පතිතුමාගෙන් තුමියගෙන් විමසන්න පුළුවන් කොතනටද එන්න ඕන කියලා. මොකද සමහර සෙන්ටර්ස් අපි පාසල් 3-4කට එක සෙන්ටර් එකක් දාලා තිනවා. විශේෂයෙන් අඩු ශිෂ්‍ය සංඛ්‍යාවක් ඉන්න දරුවන්ට එන්න වෙන්නේ අර සෙන්ටර් එකට. අපි සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයේ වෙබ්සයිට් එකෙත් අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශයේ වෙබ්සයිට් එකෙත් මේ නිවේදනය පළ කරනවා.
Meanwhile, schools with students below 200 will reopen for the grades from 1 to 5 on the 21st of October, ending a near 6-month closure. The World Health Organization also provided assurance that schools are safe for children. Despite this, local health experts are urging parents to teach their kids proper health and safety protocols to prevent any unnecessary risks.
We are expecting this process of opening school will continue without any major problems. However, we are expecting many probable situations where risk of spreading the disease through these schools or among school children need to be mitigated firstly, for which we need to have our attention, especially the attention of the school authorities, staff and the children, students and the parents and those all other stakeholders who are participating in this need to keep in their minds that the process of opening the school, maintaining the educational activities and then from leaving home for school to reaching back from school to home need to be properly planned and organized.
Consultant physician at the National Hospital in Colombo, Dr. Varuna Gunatilaka, warned of the effects of long COVID among people who have recovered from the virus. He explained that according to studies, up to 10 to 30% of patients who recover are vulnerable to the condition, which entails some symptoms of COVID-19, which may last for weeks or in some cases months. While offering advice on how to deal with the condition, Dr. Gunatilaka added that the condition is not infectious and it can be cured through simple treatments. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 situation may be under control at the moment, with Delta variant cases on the wane. But for those who have recovered from the virus, other complications remain. Long COVID or post-COVID, a condition that shows itself in recovered patients, has been witnessed, where some COVID-19 symptoms remain for weeks or even months. According to the World Health Organization, this condition occurs usually 3 months after the onset of COVID-19 and may remain for at least 2 months. According to global studies, it is estimated that 10 to 30% of the world's COVID-infected may be affected with this condition. So what are the symptoms of long COVID? According to the WHO, fatigue, headache, loss of smell, persistent cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, muscle pain, and forgetfulness are the most common symptoms. However, it says that this may not be the only symptoms as studies continue to figure out more about it.
මේ පසු කොවිඩ් අවස්ථාවක් තවත් කෙනෙකුට ගෝවීමක් සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. දැනට පවතින දත්ත තොරතුරු වලට අනුව. ඊළඟට අනිත් එක තමයි දැන් කවුරු හරි කිසියම් පුද්ගලයෙක් එන්නත් කරණයට ලක් වෙනවා නම් ඒ පුද්ගලයන් පසු කොවිඩ් අවස්ථාවට ගොදුරු වීමේ හැකියාවත් බොහෝ සෙයින් අඩුයි. ඒකත් පරිශනාත්මකව ඔප්පු කරපු දෙයක්.
Meanwhile, with work from home having become a norm during the pandemic, medical experts warn that excess screen time due to online work schedules may exacerbate the condition.
දැන් මේ ඔන්ලයින් ක්‍රමයට අනුගත වෙලා රාජකාරී කටයුතු කිරීම අඛණ්ඩව පැය ගාණක් දිගටම කරනවා නම් ඒකත් මේ පසු කොවිඩ් ආසාදිත තත්ත්වයේ තවදුරටත් දිග්ගැස්සෙනට හේතුවක් බවට යම් යම් පරිශන වලින් එළිදරව් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඔන්ලයින් ක්‍රමයට වැඩ කටයුතු කරාට කමක් නැහැ. නමුත් ඒ සඳහා කිසියම් කාල සීමාවක් නිර්ණයක් නියාමනයක් ඇත්තටම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. මොකද ඕනවට වැඩිය ඔන්ලයින් ක්‍රමයට අනුගත වීමේ කිරීම පවා සමහර විට අහිතකර වන්නට පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා.
Medical experts, however, say that all is not lost as simple treatments can be used to help you recover from this.
ගඳ සුවඳ නොදැනෙන කෙනෙකුට අපිට පුළුවන් ස්මෙල් ට්‍රේනින් කියන අභ්‍යාසයන් කරන්න. ඒක හරි සරලයි. රෝස මල් පොකුරක් එහෙම නැත්නම් සෙන්ට් එකක් එහෙම නැත්නම් කරාබු නැටි හරි කුරුදු තෙල් හරි වගේ දෙයක් නහයට ලං කරලා ඕන්ට කියන්නට පුළුවන් යලි යලිත් මේ ගඳ සුවඳ ආග්‍රහණය කරන්න. එතකොට ඊටාත්ම කෙටි කාලයකින් අර නැති වී ගිය ගඳ සුවඳ සංවේදනය ආපහු ළඟා වෙනවා. නිින්ද නොයන පුද්ගලෙක් ආවොත් අපි ඒතකොට එයාට අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඔය කැෆේන් වගේ කෝපි වගේ දේවල් රාත්‍රී කාලේ පානය කරන්නට එපා කියන එක. අනිත් එක තමයි ජංගම දුරකථන සහ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික මෙවලම් සමග ගත කරන කාලය ස්ක්‍රීනින් ටයිම් කියන එක හැකි තාක් දුරට අඩු කරන්න. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ අර සරල දේවල් වලින් ඔවුන්ට මේකෙන් මඟ පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද එතකොට මේ තත්ත්වයන් තමත් කෙටි කාලයකින් පහව යෑමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. හුස්ම ගැනීමේ අපහසුතාවය. දැන් මේ සඳහා breathing exercises පාවිච්චි වෙනවා. තවත් දෙයක් තමයි දැන් dizziness කියන එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් අර තෝන්තු ගතියක් කරකැවිලි ගතිය. ඊළඟට පපුවේ ගැස්ම. දැන් එවැනි තත්ත්වයන් තියෙන අය. දැන් විශේෂයෙන් ඇඳෙන් නැගිටිනකොට වගේ කරකැවිලි ගතියක් එන්න පුළුවන් මේ සමහර අයට. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ අයට ඇත්තට උපදෙසක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඇඳේ චුට්ටක් වාඩි වෙලා ඉඳලා ඊට පස්සේ තමන්ගේ කාර්යාවලින් සඳහා යොමු වෙන්න.
More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Big 3.
Welcome back in more news. The Special High Court bench hearing the bond scam case today has been informed by the Attorney General's Department that extradition proceedings of the Singaporean government have begun against former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran. However, the AG's department has also informed the court that it may be near impossible to extradite the other accused set to be tried in absentia, former Perpetual Treasuries Director Ajahn Gardia Punchiheva from Malaysia.
The Attorney General has requested the Colombo Special Trial at Bar to continue proceedings on the 2015 February bond scam case in absentia. Two of the main suspects named in the case, former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran and former Director of Perpetual Treasuries Ajahn Gardia Punchiheva, are currently overseas. With that, the case regarding the criminal misappropriation of funds from the bond auction was taken up this morning by a Special High Court bench consisting of judges Champa Janaki Rajaratna, Damit Totavarta and Namal Balalle. Additional Solicitor General Priyantha Navana, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General, informed court that the government of Singapore has initiated the extradition process for Arjuna Mahendran. However, it is learned that the 10th suspect in the case, Ajahn Gardia Punchiheva, is currently living in Malaysia, with the Additional Solicitor General informing the court that attempts at extraditing him at present are virtually impossible. Accordingly, the Additional Solicitor General requested the court to proceed with the case without their presence. The Special Trial at Bar then scheduled the further hearing of the case for December 3rd. Meanwhile, the Special Trial at Bar directed the prosecutors to keep the court informed on the progress of Mahendran's extradition process.
The visiting chief of the Indian Army, General Manoj Mukund Naravne, called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat today. During the exchange of views, the Indian Army chief emphasized the importance of stability in neighboring countries for India in order to preserve regional peace. General Naravne is set to join Army Commander General Shavendra Silva to observe and oversee the joint Indo-Lanka Mitra Shakti military exercises at the Madhuroya camp. The visiting chief of the Indian Army, General Manoj Mukund Naravne, paid floral tributes to the fallen Indian peacekeeping force war heroes at the IPKF monument in Battaramulla this morning. General Naravne then arrived at the Army headquarters in Kotte and met with his Sri Lankan counterpart, Army Commander General Shavendra Silva. His visit coincides with the 8th edition of the Indo-Sri Lanka military exercise Mitra Shakti that got underway on the 4th of this month, with the objective of enhancing counter-terror cooperation.
As mature democracies, the quality interaction between the elected leaders of both countries is mirrored by similar interactions between our two militaries. It is a proud privilege for us to host Sri Lankan officers, NCOs and cadets for training in many of our institutions. Even during the COVID-19 outbreak, we ensured that we were in touch with each other and shared best practices in COVID management, which the Sri Lankan Armed Forces have handled most splendidly in Sri Lanka.
අද දිනේදී හමුදා දෙක අතර පැවැත්වෙන සුහද සම්බන්ධතාවය තවදුරටත් වර්ධනය කර ගැනීම සඳහා සාකච්ඡා පැවැත්වුවා. ඉන්දියාව ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට විශාල පුහුණුවීම් සහ අනිකුත් සහයෝගයක් ඉතිහාසය පුරාවට අපිට ලබා දෙනු ලබනවා. ඉන්දියානු ශ්‍රී ලංකා මිත්‍ර ශක්ති අභ්‍යාසය මේ වන විට අම්පාර සහ මාදුරුවේ ප්‍රදේශවල කරගෙන යනු ලබනවා. එහිදී අවසන් අභ්‍යාසය සඳහා ඉන්දියානු හමුදාපතිවරයාත් මමත් මාදුරුවේ තිබෙන හමුදා පුහුණු පාසලේදී අභ්‍යාසයට සම්බන්ධ වීමට නියමිත තිබෙනවා. ශ්‍රී ලංකා යුද හමුදාවේ ගජබා රෙජිමේන්තු දිනය හෙටයි. ගජබා රෙජිමේන්තු දිනේ පෙළපාලිය එතුමා සහ සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
General Naravne also met with Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratna at the Defence Ministry. During their interaction, both sides highlighted the importance of bilateral cooperation in a number of areas, including the strengthening of training modules. The visiting Indian Army chief then called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat. During the talks, the Indian Army chief emphasized that the stability of neighboring countries are of paramount importance to India in maintaining regional security. General Naravne also met with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees this evening. Delivering the keynote address at the security salon organized by the Institute of National Security Studies on the theme of national security in the 21st century, Indian politician Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who is on a 2-day official visit to the island, called for greater focus on cyber threats, which he says is the new global front line. Dr. Swamy also met with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa as well.
Bharatiya Janata Party parliamentarian Dr. Subramanian Swamy arrived in the island on a two-day visit yesterday. Last night, the Indian politician participated in the Navaratri festival hosted by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees. The Rajya Sabha member also called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa this morning at the Presidential Secretariat. Meanwhile, Dr. Subramanian Swamy also gave the keynote address at the Security Salon organized by the Institute of National Security Studies, themed National Security in the 21st Century.
There is no such thing as a big country or small country in the new domain or the new structure of national security. Why? Because there is a new element, and that is the cyber war. Sri Lanka may be a small island compared to countries like China, Russia, United States, India. But in a cyber warfare, if you develop that expertise, you will be equal to all the countries. So we now reach a situation where we have to no more think of warfare as mobilization of weapons and dependent on the size of the army. Small, big countries are all friends or threats. There can be no question of ignoring any country. If Sri Lanka today takes a determination that the next 15 years they will work hard to build Sri Lanka as a cyber war capable country, then you will be one of the world powers for reckoning.
The Commercial High Court, which earlier issued an arrest warrant on the MV Express Pearl, dismissed the order when the case was taken up today. The decision was given after representations were made by the Marine Environmental Protection Authority that pointed out that the vessel was not in a state for seizure.
Last Thursday, the Commercial High Court in Colombo issued a warrant to arrest the damaged MV Express Pearl ship following a case filed by a private cargo company requesting compensation and interest for goods lost in the disaster. The case was taken up once again today. During today's proceedings, the Marine Environmental Protection Authority intervened in the case and made submissions stating that the vessel is not in a state for it to be seized. Further, the authority also showed images of the current state of the vessel. After considering these facts presented, the court ordered the arrest warrant to be dismissed.
නෞකාවක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්තාම එය භාරකාරත්වයට පත්වෙන්නේ වෙළඳ ලේකම් නෞකා කාර්යාංශයේ අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල්තුමා යටතේ. ඒ අවස්ථාවකදී නෞකාවෙන් යම්කිසි අපද්‍රව්‍යයක් පිට වුණොත් පරිසර දූෂණයක් සිද්ධ වුණොත් එයට වග කියන්නට වෙන්නේ වෙළඳ නාවික ලේකම් කාර්යාංශයේ අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල්තුමාට, ඒ කියන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජයට. ඉතින් මේ තත්ත්වය ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජයට අපටත් වාසිදායක වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේම නෞකාව දැනට අත්අඩංගුවට ගත හැකි නෞකාවක තත්ත්වයෙන් නෙමෙයි තියෙන්නේ, මේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ගිලී පවතින අබලි නෞකාවක් සොන්බුන් ආකාරයට.
Meanwhile, the MIPA chairperson also commented on when the shipwreck may be finally removed from Sri Lankan waters.
ඇත්තටම මම මූලිකව කිව්වොතින් නැව ඉවත් කරගන්නට ඇයි ප්‍රමාද කියලා මූලිකවම ප්‍රමාදය තියෙන්නේ අපි කාලගුණයේ තියෙන සාගර තත්ත්වයේ තියෙන රළුභාවය. කියන්නේ අපි දැන් මේ කටයුත්ත කරන්න අපිට වාසිදායක තත්ත්වයක් සාගරේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා අපිට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඔක්තෝබර් මාසේ අග එහෙම නැත්නම් නොවැම්බර් මාසේ මුල කාලය වෙනකොට තමයි මේ වාරකන් කාලය සමනය වෙලා අපිට කිමිදුම් කරුවන් සාගර පත්ලට යොමු කරලා අධ්‍යයනයක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ කාලය වෙනුවට මෙම අබලි නෞකාවේ සුන්බුන් ඉවත් කර ගැනීමේ කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. විශේෂයෙන්ම නෞකාවේ අයිතිකාර සමාගම ටෙන්ඩර් කැඳවුවා. එම ටෙන්ඩර් පටිපාටි අවසන් වුණා සැප්තැම්බර් මාස 21 වෙනිදා වෙනුවට. ඔවුන් දැනට අපිට දැනුම් දීලා තියෙනවා මේ කාර්යය සඳහා පාර්ශවයන් 8ක් අයදුම් කෙරුවා කියලා. ඒ පාර්ශවයන් 8න් ගැළපෙන පාර්ශවය තෝරලා ඔවුන් අපිට ඔක්තෝබර් 15 දැනුම් දීමට නියමිතයි. ඒ තෝරා ගන්නා පාර්ශවය නැවේ අබලි ද්‍රව්‍ය ඉවත් කිරීමේ කටයුත්ත සිදු කරන්නේ.
Welcome back in more news. The old share price index lost 142.87 points to end at 9,497.49, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 3,506.91, losing 62.48 points. Market turnover was 3.3 billion rupees. Here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
With the massive surge in interest rates yesterday in the bond market, which is likely to translate into the banking sector and finance company interest rates as well, we are seeing a significantly negative impact of that in the stock market as well. So with the index also at significantly high levels. We are now starting to see a lot of profit taking in the market, and with this interest rate hike there has been a trigger with a sizable sell-off in the market during the day. So today we saw a 142 point decline in the market. So overall we are seeing 3.4 billion rupees of turnover, with the main turnover coming from the transportation and the capital goods sector, but bulk of it this time is onto the selling side.
Meanwhile, the rupee remained unchanged at 203 against the US dollar today as well. Let's now have a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Have a good night.